So I'm just going to do a quick video on how I do TA. One way that I do TA. So back in June, I guess and I'll say we're going to kind of um, emphasize that we don't actually know what's going to happen. We just make predictions and then we react to what actually does happen. So Boeing, I made a prediction back in June that we could get a bounce at the bottom of this broad information. So before that, I already had this kind of drawn out because we had a point there, a point there. You bring it out, and that's your next point. So what I had to do was wait for the next candle to tell me it's trying to bounce. You could probably scalp that, but I'm not really much of a scalper. Uh, so you get a candle that's telling you, okay, we got some support here. So now what you say is, okay, I'll take a break above that, and that is what will make the broad information play out. Now, it doesn't always happen like this, but see, the next day, Boeing did break, and I just didn't trade it because I don't trade gaps. I just hate trading gap ups. So I sell into gaps for the most part. But you see here, I was saying buy 1 month worth of time, buy some call options over 122.50, and it just gapped up. So I just kind of left it alone. So probably hindsight is 2020, but ain't nothing you can really do about that. You can see here now Boeing is at the top of this broad information. So now what we look at is we say, okay, what happens next? What I would like to believe happens is Boeing comes back through, breaks down and comes back through. It is in a downtrend. It is testing some support that was previously acting, it's testing some support, right? So now that could possibly act as resistance. So that area here could act as resistance. So what we're looking at is for signs of a breakdown. So we know that the odds are higher that it breaks down, but what do you like? What do you look for? So you get some rejections here, right? But the stock just kind of stops. So you say like, oh man, what do I do with that? It's not going anywhere. Now you got yourself a nice range. So first I'll say that you got a trend line here, but these trend lines are just kind of used as a guide more than anything, really. It doesn't tell you exactly what you need to be doing because they work fairly often, but I don't want you to think that, oh, you draw a trend line and trade a trend line. It's not that simple. So what we got here is a tight range. So if Boeing comes below 165 and below 162, we know we're getting downside. So that's what I would be on the lookout for, a break below 165, break below 162, because then that pushes you out of this range. So then that could trigger a nice reversal to trade at least. And then just from there, you say, okay, well, where does it stop? That 142, 143 area right here was acting as resistance. So now when it comes through, it could act as support. It might just flush right through it. But so I would say be on the lookout for that kind of move from the 160s to the 140s over the medium to longer term. And of course, if it breaks above this range, then I would say if it breaks and holds outside of this range to the upside, then we're looking, that's probably off the table for a little while. But you could get a hard rejection up in this area. So you got some resistance there near 190, some resistance there, the 200 psych, this trend line. So if it comes up, then that would be where I think the next short opportunity would be the higher probability. But you just have to wait and see. So it's really about waiting and seeing what happens. And you can get in predictive trades, but you just have to keep your stop loss pretty tight. And know where it's going to be. So that's that. That's Boeing, and we'll see what happens. So there you go. That's how I do some TA, charting stuff, support, resistance, trend lines, broad informations. Pretty much that's it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something.